Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I will be explaining the basics of chess to everyone watching. Alright, let's get right into it. Alright, so, first of all, to practice, I would definitely recommend making an account on chess.com, which is the best and most approved chess website there is. So, go ahead and do that. Then, you'll be in, and your screen will look like this. Over here, it shows popular chess streamers. Then there's puzzles. There's make a new game. There's lessons, and then there's computer. The problem with lessons, and the reason why you should watch this video instead of doing lessons, is because the lessons are very limited. You will run out of lessons really quickly. Alright, so, on to the first thing. Alright guys, so, as you can see I have set up the board, and on one side we have the black king and the black pawn, and we have the white king and the white pawn. Now, you do not need to memorize these right away, you will need to memorize them eventually though. So what you really want to focus on right now is these things. They're called pawns. Okay, so this might sound really confusing, but on their very first move, like, say the game's just started, and there's my row of pawns. You see, because normally I would have a row of pawns all the way across, and so would the enemy. And so, basically what you would want to do is move one of the pawns forward to let your other pieces out. On their first move, they can move two spaces forward on their very first move, and then they can only move one. And so could the other one, and as you can see, I moved it forward. Now, we have this pawn here, right? And he hasn't done anything yet, he's just moved forward once. So, yeah, I'm going to set him back to where he was, and I'll show you. So he can move two forward, and then say I move two forward right here. Well, then he could move diagonally and take one, but he can only move diagonally one. He couldn't come all the way over here. He could only go there or there. Pawns cannot go backwards. But say I did this. Oh, sorry. Say I did this. What do you think that this pawn should do? Well, it's pretty much out of options, because if it takes it, then it gets taken. And then this pawn can keep moving. But the advantage, the very good thing about pawns, is one, they're pretty easily disposable, and when you get them to the very end on the opposite player side, that gives you the option to actually change it out for any piece in the game. So that's called promoting. So if you get a pawn all the way to the enemy side, then you can upgrade it to any other piece. The best other piece to go to is called the queen. Now we will cover the queen. So, as you can see, all these dots are where it can move on the board. It can move side to side, it can move diagonally, and it can move forward and backwards. And it can do that as far as it wants and take any piece that way. But, say I were to be in a bad situation, right? Like, say the enemy had a queen. The queen is the best piece, so as you can see on the side, my advantage has gone completely away, because there is no way to win against a queen when you only have pawns left. That's why you have to keep your other pieces, which I will now explain. Alright, here, sorry. I'll fix that. Okay, so, the other pieces are the bishop, the knight, the rook, and the king, which I'll explain the king in a moment. So, if you look here, the rook can move side to side and forward and backwards only. But it can take any pieces along that line, but only ones that it can directly hit. So, say there was an enemy bishop there, I could just go through it and take it. Alright, so, this is a knight. It does a kind of weird thing. It goes 1, 2, and then in any direction, or it can go 1, 2 in any direction. So it's pretty cool. It makes a giant L shape, which is how I remembered it. So you go 1, 2, 1, and it makes a giant L. It's pretty cool. And the knight is the only piece that can actually jump over other pieces. So say this rook is in the way, right? It looks like it can't go past, can it? But it can. 1, 2, 1. It can jump over other pieces. It's the only piece that can do that, and that's why it's very good for beginning game. Now this is the bishop. The bishop can move diagonally as far as it wants in any direction. And as you can see, that's a lot of space. So bishops are very good in game. Now, a very important thing that we haven't even talked about yet is kings and check and how to win the game. So, you see here I have my king, right? I'm going to go ahead and move this king somewhere else. Now, this king right here can only move 1 in any direction. Boom, boom, boom. So it can only move 1 next to it. It can go in any direction it wants, though. The problem is, when your king is put into check, it has to find a way out. So, say the enemy had a rook like this, and it's possible that it could take my king. Then that is check for the white team. Their king is in check and is being threatened by an enemy piece, which means I need to get out of that, because that's how the game works. So I would either have to move out of the way or move another piece in the way. Now, in this situation, I would want to go this way, because if I move this piece there, it would be taken, and if this piece went back there, then it could be cornered, which I'm going to show you now. And so, checkmate. Checkmate is how you win. You make it so that the king is in check and cannot get out of it. So I would do that, check, but the king cannot move into check. So if the king were to move there, it just wouldn't work because it's being covered. And this queen is covering this vast area. And so is this. So the king can only move there, there, or there. And I'm going to move the king here as an example. Then the rook would go down here. The king would be in check and would not be able to escape. Because as you can see, every single other area is covered. Checkmate. Now, that's the goal of the game. You want to corner the enemy king, and that's basically how everything works. So, any piece can capture any piece on the opposite team. You cannot capture your own pieces. That'd just be ridiculous. So like that. Or like, I could do this, and it would put him in check. He moves out of the way. And then I could move right here. Now, this is another important lesson about chess. You have to remember that if you take a piece and it's protected by another piece, then you're going to lose this piece. So if I move that piece there, then it would take that, but then I could take the queen, which is worth a lot more. So what you want to do is target the weaker protected pieces first. Now, I'm going to quickly show you a very basic opening. Now, we will cover this in the next video. So, king's pawn opening. Move the king's pawn forward 2. Now, that gives you a very good thing because you can bring out your queen, you can bring out your bishop, and your knights can still be brought out, and so can your king. Alright, well, that's it for this video. I will be back with another one in a little while, I guess. Bye. Feel free to subscribe and go check out my Twitch.